Wolfpack East and the latest dev stream 188 has teased some exciting new stuff coming to Warframe and also the new Prime frame, which is gonna be Yareli Prime. And the new big update coming to Warframe will be called Isleweaver, and in this theme is gonna be a spider theme in Duvari taking place there, so we will have some exciting stuff to look forward to. I'm Tipsy, and in today's video we will be covering some of the new player changes coming to Warframe, as well as a bunch of QoL changes that will also be brought in with these updates. This includes some major features coming to the early game of Warframe, as well as a new update to the Arsenal features where you will actually be able to search for different weapons and frames. On top of this, we will also see a rework for Captain Vor coming soon. First, we will cover what is coming with the Yareli Prime update, which is set to release on May the 21st, and then we will dive into some of the features coming with the Isleweaver update somewhere in June. Navigating the arsenal with your weapons and frames in the coming update will see some huge improvements, such as weapons will now be searchable by the actual type, so you will be able to search the different weapons by their type, and for the frames you will actually be able to search them for their main role, so something like survival, damage, crowd control, and even stealth you will be able to search for the different frames on. This will make it easier to search around the arsenal and give a good idea what the different frames actually excels in, especially for new players trying out the game. But keep in mind that this isn't definitive. And just because a frame isn't listed in a category doesn't mean that it can't excel in that role. Because Warframe's modding system is so versatile that basically any frame can be made to be viable in certain aspects if you mod them right. For weapons you will now have more categories and tags to search by, and each primary, secondary and melee category will actually have subcategories you can search in, and as you can see here, there will be a lot of things you can actually search for different weapons to find the exact weapon you are actually looking for or the type of weapons you are looking for. Some quality of life stuff will also be added to the mod section where you will upgrade your weapons in the UI. You will be able to click a stat in the upgrade section and automatically filter all of the mods that include that stat. It is a nice feature and it definitely will come in handy. Next, we got some changes for enemies you might find in missions. A new enemy type called the Bailiff will be added to the Grenier missions, and this is a big tanky enemy which will basically act as a mini boss and will also have a big hammer swinging at you. Then next up is the Ballistas, as they will get an update to their attacks where they will now lock onto players and follow them for a short bit while they charge up their sniper shot before shooting. They will also get a VFX update where basically you will be able to see when they are following and when they are about to shoot you. Lastly, we have the Eviscerators, where they will get an area denial ability where they will be able to pull out a grenade launcher shooting an array of grenades, locking off a certain area where the player is. Now let's quickly go over some of the quality of life stuff coming with the Yareli Prime update coming on May the 21st. Wild Kubrows will no longer attack the player unless attacking first or the den is attacked by the player. This also means that companions will no longer attack neutral wildlife in different missions. That means the companion will not attack the wild Kubrows or the feral cavats in different missions now. And as Warframe has introduced more and more pity systems, also the Arbitrations will see an update to this, where some of the items you will be able to get in arbitration missions will also now be added into the arbitration honor shop, so you will now be able to get a few more items from the arbitration shop. Archon shards removal cost will also be cut in half, and also some of the different colored Archon shards will now cost different kind of resources to be able to remove, so this should just be a little handy update making it easier to remove different types of Archon shards. You will also be able to change your loadout in the temporal or deep Archimedia screens now, which is a huge update for the more endgame players, as this wasn't possible before, where you will actually have to go out and go into your arsenal. Now you can change your arsenal or loadout from the screen at itself. And for those interested, the Capture mode will also see some improvement, where the gear wheel menu will now be able to be a quick access menu for some things like camera movement and other stuff. And that should cover most of the things coming with the Yareli Prime update coming on May the 21st. And now onto some changes coming with the Isleweaver update coming in June. Also, a small reminder is everything we're talking about here is from the developer workshop, which means they are still subject to change. And here are some of the nice changes coming to Junctions in June. The Junctions UI is getting a full refresh, meaning that it will be more accessible for new players, and it will be easier to navigate the different junctions and what goals actually are and tasks you have to complete to be able to unlock the junction. The tasks tied to junctions will now also reward the players while completing them, not just when defeating the Spectre. So now, for example, completing the War's Prize quest will give you a reward such as Stream or Spawn, and this will then be given upon completion of the mission or the goal for the junction, instead of just when you complete the junction in full. Now you will get rewards slowly as you progress towards the junction. There should also be points on the UI where you will actually just be able to click on the goal and it will take you to the area or place where the goal will be completed. That means it will be easier and more intuitive for new players to actually move around and see what the junction has to offer. As someone making beginner's guides, this is something nice to see, as new players will now see more guidance in the early games of Warframe, taking you along a path instead of just being thrown in fully blindly. Some quest updates are also coming to Warframe with the Isleweaver update. The Natah quest will now be available right after completing the Arcwing quest. That means you will no longer need to make your way all the way to Uranus to actually scan drones to get introduced to some of the first story quests in the Warframe. The mission will also be more beginner friendly, taking you through the missions in a more guidance way instead of before where you kind of just get thrown into the mission at a later point. But one of the biggest changes is coming to the new war quest, as earlier this year we saw a change where you no longer had to farm the necromech. Now this change will include some improvements onto the Railjack part of the new war quest. We don't know exactly what they're gonna do to the Railjack in the new war quest, but they said they will make it more manageable for new players that haven't had time to actually upgrade their Railjack starting the new war quest. But it is nice seeing some changes coming to one of the missions known as one of the biggest walls for new players in Warframe. And coming with the Isleweaver update, our very first boss, Captain Vor, is finally seeing a rework done to him. The fight has always been super basic, so it is nice seeing a rework coming to some of the early game bosses in Warframe. Captain Vor will be getting a new arena and also new mechanics, making him more dynamic, but also still accessible for new players. His electric grenades will now spawn an arc spear that will do AoE damage. The second ability will be electric pylons, where Vor will summon a beam of laser similar to what we saw in the Awakening quest. His third ability, the shield, will now be split into 4 different phases, where he will spawn reinforcements once he is in his shield phase. And lastly, his teleport ability will now see some VFX changes, making it easier to see where he teleports to. He will also get a second phase where at a half HP he will actually teleport deeper into his arena. You will now have to do parkour through tunnels to actually reach Captain Vor, where there will be traps doing damage to you along the way. And in his final stage you will have to fight him on a floating platform above some electrical water. During his final phase, he will use his Void Key beam to sweep across the entire room. He will also spawn some electric orbs that should follow you around, where you will take damage once you are near them. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting seeing how all this plays out once it actually gets introduced into Warframe. Rhino's crafting costs are gonna be reworked to only use Earth and Venus resources, as Rhino will now be part of the early Junction progression. The main blueprint will now cost 1 Nerodes instead of the Gallium which it was before. On the Neuropics it will be 150 alloy plate, 1 Nerode instead of the Morphic which it was before, then 150 polymer bundles and 500 rubido. The chassis will cost 450 circuits instead of the Morphic which it was before, then also 1000 ferrite and 300 rubido. Lastly, the system will be 500 ferrite, 250 circuits, 100 polymer bundles and 400 rubido, where before it was gallium, Morphic, salvage and plastites. So this is pretty nice, making the Rhino Warframe actually be part of the early game progression for newer players in Warframe. And we are getting herbalism to Warframe, or basically herbalism was a thing in Warframe, but it is seeing some changes. So normally you had to scan things or scan plants to actually gather them, and that is seeing some changes in the coming update of the Isleweaver. So now you will simply be able to actually walk up to any plant in the game and actually be able to hold X to gather it, where before you had to hold down your scanner and actually scan it to be able to pick it up into your inventory. So coming with this change is also a rework to the companions, which normally you had to scan things around you. This will then now instead pick up the things or the plants in your vicinity to you. And honestly, this is a nice little intuitive change, as having to pull out your scanner and actually scan a plant is kind of not really something you think about when you play, but if you actually just walk up to something and you see hold X to gather, that just makes it overall easier and more intuitive to actually do. And that should cover most of the things coming to the new player experience in the next few months, so definitely look forward to that. Also, this format is a little bit different than what I usually do, but let me know if you want to see more of these types of videos once new updates or things get announced for Warframe. If you got any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. Also, remember to like and subscribe for future content and check out my other videos. We also do have a Discord server, so feel free to check that out and join the community. So stay tuned, stay tipsy, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.